Htp family, thank you for joining me today on this Sunday, December 6th, 2020. We are doing the weekly Warship, and this is every week where we study a little more about ourselves so that we can engage this world and build a new nation that could go on for time immemorial. Today we're going to finish off. Well, this month we're going to finish off the Pan-African Wisdom series. So every weekend, every Sunday, we're going to go over one of the four different books, and we're going to finish off the year strong. This is the weekly Warship. This right here is the Pan-African Wisdom series, and it's available to download. And of course, if you don't know what platform you're on, you're listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio. So make sure you check out all the content on the network. All right, let's go. So this right here is page 66, and we're just going to finish it off. All right. So the Sankofa model allows for widespread African literacy, skills, militancy, morality, and wealth. These are the rudiments for not only a powerful nation, but a desirable refuge for the global incompetency and hostility affecting African people, right? This is what we have to understand as a people, that what we are really doing is we're building a refuge for our people, all right? A lot of people will come up with the mindset of not everybody's going to move, not everybody's going to move. Everybody who wants to have a refuge from this total destruction that's going on, right, can have one when we build what we need to do. All right? Okay? If you don't like how your government is handling this, quote-unquote pandemic, if you're not liking how your government is handling this quote-unquote economics, this economy, if you don't like how your government is handling this quote-unquote, this sexuality, whatever it is you don't like, if you don't like that sort of stuff, you go build a nation, you help build a nation, right? And then you don't have to deal with that government that you don't like. Okay? In fact, if you do deal with that government, it's going to be on equal terms. All right? Or even on terms of you having more power. That's really the objective. All right? That's the objective. But you're not. But here's the thing. We have to have a model for building that kind of thing. Okay? It's not just going to happen because we say it's going to happen. We have to build it for ourselves. And that's really what it comes down to. Okay? So that's why we study, that's why we work together, that's why we build together. Right? So that we can have that refuge. So that the people who say, you know what, enough is enough, I don't want to be here anymore, where can I go? We have it for them. All right? Let's keep going, though. We're just going to rush through it. So look here. Racial education is utmost for any people, and every powerful people make it their responsibility, whether for their children or their adults, to inform and impel them on their racial, national, communal, and familial identity and responsibilities, as well as their language, skills, spirituality, and war consciousness as a community member. This is so, you can't appreciate this. You can't appreciate this. All right? Every people who have power inform their own people on their language, their skills, their spirituality, the wars that they had in the past, the wars they want to have into the future. All right? Okay? They make it their sense of race, their sense of nationality, their sense of community, their sense of family. Every people communicate this to their own people. If I go to China, right? If I go to China, or if let's say there's a Chinese child born in China, all right, will learn about the Asian race. They will learn about the Chinese nation. They will learn about the community habits of their own particular zone, whatever zone they may be in. They'll learn about their family. Okay? They will learn their language, whether it is I forget what it's called, but whatever the language is in China. But they also have like a local language that they may learn, because there's a national language that the Chinese use. I think it's Mandarin. They use Mandarin, but then they also have smaller languages. Okay, so you'll learn that. Every child in China will learn certain skills. They'll learn mathematics. They'll learn reading. They'll learn. They'll eventually be able to specialize in certain fields of study. They learn the spirituality. They may learn Buddhism or Shintoism or Taoism, and they'll learn about the wars. They'll learn about Sun Tzu. They'll learn about so on and so forth. Every people in China go through a powerful racial education, and they come out better for it. Okay? You go down to Sri Lanka, same story. Okay? You're going to learn the language. You're going to learn about their spirituality. You're going to learn about their national ways, their familial ways, their racial ways, so on and so forth. Okay? You go to Poland. You go to America. You go to Mexico. You go to Canada. Wherever you go, you're going to see this, with the exception of weak nations, weak states. Weak states, and a lot of those weak states are in Africa. Okay? In Africa, in fact, we read this earlier when we were reading Amilcar Cabral. Amilcar Cabral was telling us, hey, in Angola, we don't even learn about, or in Guinea, we don't even learn about Guinea. We learn about Portugal. Okay? We don't learn about Africa, we learn about Europe. Alright? We don't learn any skills. Most of us are illiterate. Alright? We don't learn our own languages. We're struggling to learn Portuguese. Right? We don't learn about our revolutions and our wars, but we learn about, the different wars. I could tell you about Napoleon, and I could tell you about, George Washington. And then that keeps us weak. There was something that I noticed, because a lot of times when you study the ancients, right? When you study the ancient wisdom, what you come across is, like, what you learn when you study the ancient wisdom is that you can return and learn something anew. You can return and learn something anew. It's not as direct and straightforward as say, like me. I'm straightforward. You read this, you see it, you understand it, right? The ancients will write something, and you will say, I got to think about this. I'm not saying that you don't have to think about what I wrote. Maybe you do. I mean, I don't have to think about it because I wrote it. But one of the ancients said, if the master teaches you what is error, if the master teaches you what is truth, the disciple's submission is ennoblement. And if the master teaches error, the disciple's submission is slavery. Okay? So if you have an educator who's teaching the truth, right, you will then be ennobled. And if you have an educator who's teaching falsehoods, you'll be enslaved. And to me, it was a really powerful thing, because, like I said, I used to sit down and I of course I invite you. I'm encouraging you to join this class that we're going to do in January. All right. Well, hopefully, if we have enough students, we can do January, right? But what we did once upon a time, when I used to organize in the African Blood Siblings, we used to sit down, at a table, with different, people, and we would go over these proverbs. Everybody would give their own insight on these quotes and proverbs. Quotes like this one you see in front of you, except for this one wasn't written yet, right? So you would have heard that one that you see in the Kemet, the one that I got from ancient Africa, but and I want to just reiterate that same quote that's in ancient Africa is inside of the other Pan-African wisdom book for ancient wisdom, right? Or African wisdom. But here's the thing. The reason why I bring up that quote is because, when I was there, when I was organizing, there was this gentleman. He was a martial artist, and he would tell us, hey, and when the question came to him, he would try to describe it this way. He said, if I'm a martial artist instructor, and I'm teaching my student how to, the martial arts, right, or the Menchu arts, or Kubagana and Gumi, whatever you want to call it, right? But if you're teaching them how to fight, okay, and you're teaching them error, they will never be able to beat you. You understand? If you're if you're proficient in combat and you're not teaching that real true proficiency, you could always dominate that person even though you're getting older and weaker. All right? But if you're teaching them true combat proficiency, then as you get older and weaker, they'll be able to beat you. Okay? And this kind of goes to the matter of, that's one way to interpret it, and it kind of goes to how Wazungu would educate you or miseducate you, right? In the sense of Wazungu would not teach you how to beat them eventually, right? But would teach you to stay beneath them. But it goes even further. It goes even deeper than that. Because the way how I'm reading it now, in fact, there's two different ways I'm reading it now, right? Because I tell you, the ancient wisdom is so deep that we should go over it together. All right? We should, because we're learning. We are constantly in a state of learning, right? One of the other ways to look at this ancient wisdom, right? And I know this is a bit of a tangent because we're talking about, Onitaset today, right? But one of the ways to look at this ancient wisdom is to also say, well, maybe the whole purpose of this miseducation, the whole purpose of education is to exploit somebody. Because you notice that when the ancestors say, well, if you teach somebody error, then they will be enslaved. So it's to say that if you intentionally and deliberately teach somebody falsehoods, right, they will be enslaved. Okay? So if you want people to be enslaved, then that you want to do is teach them error. All right? And then it reminds me of one of the quotes when I was really young. Okay? When I was really young, I saw this quote, and I still can't really see it again. But I'm maybe not really, really young, but high school, right? And it went like this white boy in the middle of Europe. So he's not talking about black folk, but he said he did not want to give students, and he did not want the masses or to get too much college education, because what he noticed about college education is that you would be less likely to do manual labor. You know, you'll be less likely to do work because one thing is that when you have that education, you realize that you're probably much better than whatever it is that they're telling you to do. You know, you get a self-esteem, you get a sense of self-worth, you get a sense of should I be doing this sort of stuff, and that's why they were discouraging even Europeans. Okay, the European elites were discouraging even European commoners from getting an education. So it's to say that the education of the commoner is and always would be to essentially exploit them. You know, and of course it comes back to Marcus Garvey's proverb, or Marcus Garvey's quote, where he says, intelligence rules the world and ignorance carries the burden. You know, the difference between intelligence and ignorance would be that education, in a sense. You understand? So education decides whether you rule the world or carry the burden. That's another way to look at that. But going back to when I said there was three ways, the other way I wanted to say about the one on education, the one on the master and slavery and so on and so forth, was that I'm realizing even more so that the historiography, right? And that's just a large word to say how people write history, right? In the quote-unquote black conscious community, itself is infused with error, with wrong thinking. And you might have seen this when on the other earlier podcasts where I was discussing have we really intellectually advanced in the last 50 years, you know? And I mean, of course, no one wants to hear this, but you know, I was looking at how not just basically the way how it works is that if you listen to a lot of these scholars, you would think that white folk just woke up, said, hey, we're so violent, and that's why we're going to take over the world. When, realistically speaking, that never happened. Okay? White people were not socially organized to the point where any old white person could just get up, grab a gun, and then go travel, 5,000 kilometers into Africa. Right? That never happened. right? So the whole mentality of, oh yes, white people are so violent and therefore blah blah. What that does is that's an erroneous way of thinking, and it would also contribute to the enslavement of African people. You understand? As to say that is telling is now I once postulated, hey, our story is better than true story, right? But if it's only if you know how to write our story. There's a difference between accuracy and precision. And the thing is that we tend to be very accurate and imprecise. We tend to be very accurate and imprecise. But I'm going to let you mull over that and think on that while I go forward. But the main thing that you want to take from this page, in a sense, is that you have to go about with education to the point where you're speaking the truth to your people, but also you're speaking the objective to your people. All right? You're speaking the truth and you're speaking the objective. What is the objective except for the racial, national, communal, and familial identity? What is the objection except for the language, skills, spirituality, and war consciousness of the community members? This is what we can organize. All right? This is what I'm doing. And my thing is this, that you come along. You come along, you send people along. We can live in our way if we just work together. We need workers. We need workers. We know the lead. We follow the lead. We need workers. Let's go, page 68. So it says a tax of 10% practiced diligently by our people can allow for a war chest both locally and nationally. This is imperative. With a war chest, Africans can quickly acquire land, buildings, and building materials outside of the normal means of traditional war and intimidation. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? I know there are easy ways. Listen to me. There are ways to acquire wealth. There are ways for us to work together. Put a little bit of money aside, right? And it don't even have to be a little bit. It could be a lot. Who cares? Put some money aside or put some resources aside. Combine it. Okay? That means multiply it. You multiply your resources, then you use those resources to acquire more resources, including but not limited to land. Okay? Included but not limited to businesses. Included but not limited to buildings. Alright? Then you're talking about multiple streams of income for a group of Africans who are diligently building a refuge for our people. There are individuals who can purchase land and build communities. Okay? So what can communities do? When we practice our economics, right? Our economics to the point where we are noticed, where we are championing for our people, where we are providing necessities for our people, right? It's only a matter of time before we start exercising positive influence on the continent. And it's only a matter of time before we can collectively act in accordance with the Pan-African nationalism that we espouse. Nyerere, before us, rose to the height of Tanganyika, looked over to Zanzibar and said, let us be one nation. Nyerere looked over to Uganda, I believe it was Uganda, or maybe Kenya, or maybe even both, and he said, let us be one nation. and he almost got it. Well, with the exception of except for Nkrumah, didn't want that to happen. But this is our story. We can do the same. All right? We can pick up where he left off. We can have that East African Federation. With that East African Federation, we can have the East-West community. With the East-West community, we could go, we could have the East-Central community, right? With the East-Central community, we could say the East-West alliance. With the East-West alliance, we could say the Black Africa, Black African continent, right? With the Black African continent, we could say the African world. With the African world, we could say the globe. All right? It all starts with us working, building, and having something in mind that we can do, because the reality is this, that we are men and women. Okay? And our war is against other men and women. All right? And as long as we have a war chest, as long as we are diligent, as long as we have a purpose, we will go against the others who have their war chest, their purpose, their diligence, and we'll see who comes out on top. We'll see who comes out on top. But I tell you, with enough soldiers, enough workers, enough of us going for this goal, it'll be us. The world is ruled by humans, and you're a human. So why don't you rule? You can. So one of the many goals in any true African nationalist endeavor is to employ our own people. That's why you have the war chest. That's why you have the war chest. Me personally, I'm trying to develop my wealth. I'm trying to develop my portfolio. All right? With that portfolio, because my thing is this: if I want this book we're reading right now to be translated into Swahili, I could do it myself, or I could pay somebody. Okay? Or I could get a volunteer. I don't want to volunteer. Okay? I kind of want to be able to do it myself, but I have no qualms with paying someone. But that's going to take me to have wealth, don't it? That's going to take me having wealth, don't it? One of the things that we have to understand is that a lot of what it takes in this world to do is going to take people. Human capital. Human capital is one of the most worthwhile pieces of capital on this planet. We like to talk about physical capital, which is, factories, so on and so forth. That's great. Don't sleep on that. But human capital is another piece of the puzzle. The physical capital, the people who rule the physical capital, what they do, what really makes it work is that they employ other people. That is, that they have the human capital as well. We have to get into a position where we have the physical capital to employ our people, the human capital. And again, that takes the war chest, that takes wealth. All right? Because we could have factories too. If, for instance, if you were one of those socialist-minded, communist-minded folk, right? You would say, what? The people who rule the nation are the bourgeoisie. You'd say that, right? The bourgeoisie. And the bourgeoisie, they run the physical capital, and they have the factories, and that's why they have so much power. So then the question becomes, why don't you have the factory? You understand? And now the socialists will try to discourage you and say, oh, well, we don't want to have these, we don't want to have the factories because then we're gonna have to exploit our people. Then why don't you just not exploit your people? If you want fair wages, give them fair wages. If you want limited work hours, give them limited work hours. If you want safe working environments, give them safe working environments. Now, what's your problem? You can employ your people. You can give them You can give them safety. Have them be able to provide for their communities, provide for their own lives. You can have that. And then you can have a wider, broader impact on the different countries of Africa before we have our own nation. Have a broader impact to where if you, let's say, if we're trying to do this East Africa thing, right? The people in West Africa, instead of trying to sabotage it, will say, yes, we recognize Ankobia and their beautiful efforts. We recognize the Ankobia Party. If, for instance, we're in Tanzania, and for some reason they say, you know what, we're going to try to oppress and suppress this political party that we have, right? We will have our allies in Rwanda saying, no, that's wrong, that's wrong suppression, and the African Union wants to monitor your elections so that they can have a fair shot. You can have this. You can do this. The world is run by people. You're a person. And you were born for something greater than this subordination. So let's take to it. Let's be what we're supposed to be. Arthur Zor's in the chat. Hotep Arthur Zor, he says, as you speak about unification efforts, Uganda, Tanzania, I think of how efforts at cultural unification may make the most strides and not be bogged down by bureaucracy. Yeah, the bureaucracy are the people. The people are employed by the countries. You know? Efforts of cultural unification. The thing with Tanzania, too, is that it's like if the bureaucracy is on your side, right? If the bureaucracy is on your side, there's nothing that you can't do. You know? Or it's very limited that you can't do. It's kind of like this guy in America, Trump, right? When the government's on his side, he could pretty much, he could say, you know what, I'm going to do this, going to do that. And then the different mechanisms of the side are trying to resist him, but it's hard to resist him, right? When the bureaucracy is on your side, right? If the Ugandan government is on your side, if the Tanzanian government is on your side, then a lot more is possible. And how they become on your side is you have those political parties. You have that political influence. This is why they stopped Garvey from going to Africa. You know, those of you who've read the Book of Power, you'll see that Garvey, the reason why they stopped him, as much as people may mock him for, he never even went to Africa, the reason why they stopped him is because they realized that there were only so many people who voted in Liberia. And they actually counted the votes. So if there's only 5,000 people who voted in Liberia, and 4,000 of them are sympathetic to the UNIA, then the government would be a UNIA government. And it's a done deal. Okay, then the 100 people they may vote for in the Senate, who knows, but the 100 people they may vote for, of 85% of them, 85 of them would be UNIA, pro-UNIA. So they'll be passing legislation for the UNIA. They'll be inviting UNIA causes. They'll have UNIA, so on and so forth. They'll do blah, blah, blah. They'll support these guys, blah, blah, blah. They'll do that. So even though one of the things I want to say is that regarding the bureaucracy is that the bureaucracy could be against you or it could be for you. But it all depends on what you're doing. If you are for you and you go out and do that, then yes, you will win. That's why Garvey said, look, I'm going to engage with this government of Liberia. I'm going to engage with the masses of Liberia. You understand? He did both. And the only thing that stopped him, well, one of the things that stopped him was that letter. And of course, the Eurasian sabotage, the Eurasian saboteur. So we just have to be smarter, stronger. Well, not smarter. I shouldn't say smarter. We just have to learn from our ancestors and act accordingly. But everything has a weakness. Everything has a weakness. For instance, the weakness of the white man is that he loves money. Okay, the weakness of the white man is that he loves money. You know, the weakness of the white man is that he has so much wealth inequality that if I go to any one of them, right, who isn't super rich, and most of them aren't, if I go to any of them and I say, here's some money, do this for me, they say, sure, what do you need? If I say I need a tank, If I need a stolen tank, right? And I go to the soldiers getting $15 an hour. Okay? I go to enough soldiers and I say I need a stolen tank. You know? And I come with some real money, right? That they can use for their families back home. Yeah, I'm gonna have a tank. Again, we have to learn from our past. The same with these crooked governors, these crooked dictators. This is how other people, they know, because they gave this mindset to them. The way how, for instance, like I used to watch these liberal news programs or whatever. One of them was doing a presentation on some country in Africa where, let's say there's two oil companies that were trying to engage this country. One oil company said, we're going to give you this amount of money, but you have to use this money to provide an education for your people, because we see that you're buying a lot of weapons. We don't want you to buy a lot of weapons. We want you to provide education for your people, civil rights, blah, blah, blah. Another oil company was like, we don't care what you do with this money, and we're going to give you more. Right? You know who the dictator went to already. You can buy, and the thing is this: then when the dictator went, the bureaucracy went. Okay, because even all these countries that we know this, all these countries that we engage in, they have these bureaucracies that they have what they call corruption. You know. Now, I'm not saying let's feed the corruption, let's feed into the corruption. I'm definitely saying that we should not be corrupted ourselves. Okay? But we have to understand that if there's a weakness, that every weakness, and that's the thing that goes back to that education, every weakness opens you up for exploitation. And not to say that you exploit your own people. No. But when you exploit weaknesses, you win battles. Okay? You win battles, you win fights, you win wars. When you see an opening and you take it, that's when you win. It's like this is why the white boy treats us. The white boy says, look here, there's an opening on dominating black folk. I educate their children. So what does he do? Hey, you want your child to learn how to read? You know, give him better chances at this economy. If I teach your child, you know. They see an opening, they take it. The bureaucracy has an opening. It's not paying its people enough. You say, hey, look, you know what? I don't want nothing. I just want you to, when this thing comes on the thing, just, put their signature. You put this in front of him. Put this in front of him, make him read it, make him read your proposal. You get a little bit of paper. They read this proposal, they write these laws. We're protected people, we're a protected class. It can work. But this is where strategy comes in. This is where working together, building together comes in. This is where seeing your opening, communicating with each other comes in. You understand? The world is a battlefield. The world is a battlefield. So we got to apply the strategic thinking that we require to get forward. But thank you so much for the comment, brother. Page 70. So it's like that one thing that Africans do not have at the time of my writing by an adequate standard is an independent facility for higher education and racial nation building. Every other people have a handful. So you go to America, you got Harvard, you got Yale. You go to England, you got Oxford, you got Cambridge. I'm sure China has its own elite university. Japan, elite university. All these India, elite university. You go to Ghana, what's the elite university? What's the university for the elites? What's the elite university for the leadership? When you go over, there's only one. I feel like I can't remember, but I think there's only one African leader right now who's went to African university. Okay, who graduated from an African university. One of these African leaders graduated from DeVry University, which is like a joke college in America. Okay? Most of them went to regular schmuggler schools, University of Pennsylvania, or some of them went to black universities in America. That's fine, but it's not really it's not really an independent facility for higher education and racial nation building. It is one of those schools that, like I just said, was set up to exploit the weakness of African people not providing for their own education. Okay, I'm not gonna say it was set up for that, but white folk took an opportunity, or can take an opportunity, because you made the opportunity. All right. Some of these people ruling these nations went to DeVry University. Okay, DeVry. And so my thing is this: if they went to DeVry University, they running this nation. Why you don't think you could outsmart them? If the most educated person, if the most educated people in their nation went to secondhand schools, why can't you outsmart them? Why are you looking at them like they're immutable and they're unconvincible and they're like why are we portraying them as the main hostility and unbeatable? Why are they unbeatable? The white man knows how to go there and deceive them and get anything he wants from them. Right? The Chinese man never met an African. Or not recently. He can go over to Africa and he can get whatever he wants. Why can't we? The Chinese man don't go to Africa and worry about no deep arrest, no this. And I mean, yeah, sure, you might say, well, look here. Only you forgot, man. Chinese man got a powerful nation behind him. Okay? And here's the thing too, it's like this. Like for instance, I already know this. That I could go to Africa and I could be like, you know what? I'm actually an American citizen. You know what I mean? I can play along. Oh yes, I'm just an American citizen. Yeah. No, you don't want to mess with me. America come for you. You understand? Even America don't know me too well. So it's gonna be like, yeah, well shit, why are you messing with that guy? He's an American citizen. You understand? You have to operate in a way that's intelligent, so that when you engage people, you can do it's like with regards to these quote unquote, some people call them Nigerian scammers, but they say, look here, you don't know what's going on in my country, so I could tell you anything in the world. Just like I could go over, I could be like, look, yeah, I'm running 10 businesses in America, and I want to expand my branch, blah blah blah. You understand? You don't know. I go to the middle of Africa. You think they oh yeah, let's look at these brother's papers. Or if they do, again, there's so much that can be done. Okay? There's so much that can be done. I'm not saying go out and scam, but I am saying the ends justify the means. Are you looking for freedom or not? What are you looking for? Are you looking to be scared? Are you looking to be intimidated? Or are you looking to be free? Because once you win, you win. So go for the win. Work, build, organize to win. You understand? It's like this. There's this system. Pause. There's this. Now I gotta say something totally different. But no, let me say. My thing is this. I don't engage white folks, so sometimes I'll be saying brother and sister before I only talk about black folk. Or I only talk to black folk, and then I say, it's like it makes a mistake. So I'm gonna just pause out there. But there's this cracker. I think she was in. And this happens all over the world, but there's an example of her in Uganda, I think, right? Where she goes down there, got no medical training, and she there trying to save little black kids, and allegedly, a lot of people coming to her, giving them their child, whatever, and then they end up dying. This same woman, if she had a better record, could have been the Minister of Health in Uganda. With no credentials. but the one she printed out on her printer. And suddenly you think that there's nothing you could that nothing that you could do. You think there's nothing you could do. You think, oh man, we lost. Oh man, this, or even, not going against my brother Altazor, but just trying to flesh out what he was talking about. It's like the bureaucracy there isn't even up to par. If some cracker could just fly in and inject a bunch of black kids, killing them, and then she could walk out. Walk out and say, well, shit, I guess prayer didn't work. You understand? Our people need us. So we have to start acting like we are needed. Our people do not have independent facilities for higher education. We need to start giving them those independent facilities for higher education, because I tell you this, if your people go to the universities that we built, and they then become the leadership, they then become a part of this bureaucracy, they then become a part of this government in some way, they're the senators, the presidents, the congresspeople, the president's aide, the political aide, the doctors, the lawyers, the teachers, if they're all going to the university that we built, freedom's around the corner. So page 71, of course, jump forward. It says, it should be beneath you to make claims to ancient grandeur, and in your personal life be unreplicated. Okay? It is dishonoring of your inherent genius to not be mathematical, scientific, and artistic. Alright? If you want to claim the ancient world, cultivate your genius. If you want to claim the ancient world, live in Uncle Jah Seneb. Live good life, good wealth, good health. Live in good speech. Talk well and talk good. Discuss ma'at. Alright? You can't just say, oh yeah, my ancestors were kings and queens and this and that. And then you there, oh well, you there, I don't know what you're doing, like just searching on the internet and dancing or shaking, whatever it is you do. Right? You can't do those two things. Stand tall. Stand strong. Stand proud. Work in brotherhoods, sisterhoods, organizations. Be involved with the development of your people. Come together. Live together. Work together. Be mathematical. Be scientific. Be artistic. Be up to date. Be relevant. Be something. And that's advice for myself too. That's advice for myself too. I mess up. I slip up often. Too often. So we have to strive towards that development. We have to strive towards being something more, being something greater. Arthur says, I'm saying that things like music and cultural effort are a way of building regional unity that become infectious and cannot be suppressed by borders and governments. Absolutely. And that's what I said about you have to be mathematics, scientific, and artistic. That's right here in front of us. We have to replicate our genius. Yes, culture, economics, politics, they're all one. You have to work in everything. Do what you can, what you're here for, what you can do. Arthur Zora is an excellent musician, conscious music. That's what it is. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You take whatever talents you have and you use it, and you use it in such a way that you can grow something bigger and better. Be positive all the time. That's what's meant by good speech, good words. Medu nefer. That's what it's meant by it. You represent that good African being of yourself all the time. You know, right? Like, for instance, me, what I say is this: I could communicate these proverbs and quotes to people. So that's what I want to do. Right? That's what I want to do. And I say, how can I do that? And that's why we have this Kerewa Ankobia. Remember, everybody, you could sign up. You could join me as we go over this kind of stuff. But that's the whole thing. You figure out what it is that you can do, what it is that you want to do, and you do it towards the unity and the strength of our nation. All right? Of our people. Of our continent. You do that. Of our race. You do that. You know? And you work on multiple avenues, but you figure out what you're gonna work on. You know? It's war. It's war. And in war, not everybody does the same thing. You understand? You have the infantry who does a certain thing. You have the cavalry who does a certain thing. You have the artillery who does a certain thing. Not everybody's going to walk the same way. You know, the fighter jet. The fighter jet's not going to roll around, not going to drive through the roads and navigate the roads. It's flying through the sky. The submarine is not gonna. You're not gonna push the submarine through the streets. It's gonna be underwater. All right. Infantry is not gonna be flying through the sky all the time. You understand? They're gonna be on the ground. They're gonna be hiding behind buildings. Tanks are not gonna be hiding behind buildings. They're tanks. You know. You know, infantry might knock on the door. Tanks not gonna knock on the door. You understand? The person driving the tank's not gonna get out of the tank and then, knock on the door. You know, everybody's going to the same victory of the military. But they all have to do what they can do based off of what they feel is going to move us towards, well, not based off what they feel, what they're directed to do. Okay? And what they can improvise based off of that direction, based off of that leadership. That's one thing that we are missing as a people, and that's leadership. That's leadership. You know, when you're at war, like Hannibal, when Hannibal was at war, everybody, all the soldiers were listening to him. He was a general. They had leadership. When Marcus Garvey was doing what he had to do, right? Everybody in UNIA is doing all this stuff. You know, some people are, we're gonna take this newsletter into the forest, or we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, so on and so forth. It didn't matter. They was improvising based off of the leadership of Marcus Garvey. The same way, you know, we talk about Malcolm X. I don't like this guy, Elijah Muhammad, but you understand that he was devout and devoted to his leadership. Then eventually he broke away, but the point being that any effort that you're doing, you have to follow directions, follow instructions, follow the leadership, because then you'll be led somewhere. If it well, hey brother, what you doing? I didn't know this brother. I was wondering about me. You know I'm always yelling. Anyway, what's good, brother?
How you doing, peace?
All right, man. How you doing, man? But yeah, the leadership. I thought it was too early for you. Nah, let me stop. The leadership is where and what we have to start listening to, right? And I mean, of course, some people are like, "Hey, well, who's our leadership now?" You know, and that's for you to decide. You know, whoever you just choose to follow, that's on you. Sometimes the leadership could just be something educational, something you could learn from. It's like when you go to school and you want to learn physics. You know, the physics professor is the leadership in your learning physics. You understand? Now, technically, you know, or even if you say, well, I'd rather learn physics on my own. Well, when you pick up a book, right, that book would then be that leadership. If that book is designed in such a way. And if the book is designed well, you may well learn your physics, right? Technically, you'd want living leadership, okay? Technically, you'd want living leadership, But the reality being that it's upon you. What do you want in your life? What are your goals? Right? What I would offer, if you're saying, hey, well, Oni, what if I wanted you as a leader? Right? Is I'm going to give you this Karawan Cobia. I want that to be the case, and then when you are ready, when you are studied in the material that I want you to be studied in, we can start collectively. We can see whether or not we can trust one another to the point where we can collectively build something for our people. So if that's the question, if your question is, well, I need some leadership, should it be this person? Whoever it is you want. If it's you want Umar Johnson, go for it. If you want Tariq Nasheed, go for it. If you want, well, go for it. Now I wouldn't recommend, but go for what you want. I'll tell you what I have. I'll tell you what I advise. But you're not really your own leader, but you decide who your leader is. Okay? You decide what you follow. You decide what you want to learn, what you want to attain. Right? It's like if I wanted to be if I wanted to do music, I'd be like, hey, I gotta go to the musicians that I say, hey, can you teach me? You know what I mean? I could go to Athazor and be like, hey, can you show me how to play this guitar? You understand? That's my choice. I can't. I don't expect nobody to tell me, well, why don't you go to? No, nobody's gonna tell me, all right, go to Athazor. Nobody's gonna tell me that. Or even if they do, it might not even be. It might not like my circumstance might not be that's even something available for me. So I gotta make a decision. I might go to Athazor and he's like, hey, look, I don't have time for that. Or he might be like, hey, this, that, so on and so forth. Or he's like, the scheduling, whatever it is. So it's like you have to make that own choice. You have to make that own connection, but you just go out and do it. Make sure you have some leadership. If you're not yourself, some leadership. And if you're a leader, like they say, you got to know who's following you. You got to know. We're going to go forward. Machiavelli's in the building, though. All right. So this is page 72. So it says, without the basics, advanced topics are harder to grasp. It's also the case that the basics that you learn are false. This severely hinders your capacity to understand advanced topics, right? So this goes back to the whole idea of if you don't have the worthwhile education. I mean, if your master or whatever, blah blah blah, or whoever you're going to learn from, it's like I just said. Let's give the example with Athazor because he's in the comments, right? If I don't learn the basics of strumming the guitar, I'm not going to play like this dude. Okay? It's gonna be harder if Athazor just says, hey, look here, just do this, whatever, right? Right? I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, just what? You know what I'm saying? You gotta learn the basics. You gotta learn the basics. You gotta learn positioning, finger positioning, all that kind of stuff, right? It's also the case, and if the basics are wrong, not say that he would teach me the wrong basics, but to say that there are people who would deliberately teach you the wrong basics, and that's actually permeated in our own community, right? If the basics that you learn are false, it'll severely hinder your capacity to understand advanced topics. In fact, that goes back to what I was saying in regards to, have we advanced intellectually for the last 50 years? You have Africans who will tell you, hey, look, white people just woke up one day and said they're going to colonize the world. Well, that never happened. You understand? And so you're looking at white folk like, hey, you know what? All they want to do is just colonize the planet, right? And it's like, you can't realistically say that white folk set out to colonize the world because there's no real evidence for that. Now, did that happen? No. You understand? No, there's no single white nation that colonized the world. There are white, with the closest you would have would be, all right, there's Rome and England. So Rome, you could say, yes, Rome did say maybe something like along the lines of colonizing the world, right? Conquering the world. but that's like a particular person who said they can use Christianity to conquer. And this time we conquer. No, in fact, they didn't say they would colonize the world. They just said that this time we conquer, right? So that they can use Christianity to conquer the world, right? Or not the world, but to conquer other people, right? And the other example, of course, is the United Kingdom. The United Kingdom didn't necessarily say they were going to conquer the world as much as that they were going to have colonies, and there would be, around every latitude, if, in a sense, right? Or maybe longitude, I don't remember. But that's about it. And it wasn't even the case that they may have said that they were going to do that as much as that's what they did, But to say that every person in UK or a predominant number of people in the UK, just woke up and said, just had guns handed to them and said, "We got guns, let's go do this." That's not even remotely the case. What happened was that the people applied for charters and companies in order to go to other countries and get the resources and bring it back to the Queen or the King or whatever, right? That's a whole different narrative. You understand? Because what it tells you is that there are countries and colonies that are designed to bring back wealth into a nation, right? And it kind of explains to you why people were in Africa, the same as they were in India and so on and so forth. If you say, they just want to conquer black folk and they have something against black folk, you're kind of misinterpreting and misunderstanding the more advanced topic of, how do you build wealth for people except for by going out and getting resources from different communities and different lands and bringing it back to your own nation. You understand? And that's the more intelligent, more involved way of looking at this matter. But you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it from most of our people. Most of our people are gonna have a hard time grasping that. They're gonna say, "Wait, it's not because the white man hates us that he went into Africa." Because even Martin Delaney said the white man never hated the black man. Okay, he never hated him. Of course, I put this in the Book of Power where he says it, and it's inside of his book, Elevation, Colonization, whatever, right? But he says they never hated us. The fact they used to look at us as just master tradespeople, right? But eventually they created a myth of inferiority to justify among their own people, who would of course have objections to the enslavement of another people who they don't even hate. You understand? But of course, even that narrative kind of doesn't even make sense to the people who were getting the wrong basics of saying, all white people hate us, and that even furthers the confusion because now it makes it so that black people who see white people who don't hate them now suddenly regard those white people highly. You understand? So now those white people could take advantage and exploit black folk based off of their own ignorance, based off of the black person's ignorance. And some of that exploitation comes in the form of sexual exploitation, based off of the black person's ignorance. So you want to communicate the real basics and communicate the real advanced topics, and that's not really happening in this quote-unquote black conscious community, even by those that we highly esteem. Because like I said, I showed you the paper from 50 years ago, and Dr. Clark was on the panel telling you, white people just woke up and wanted to brutalize the world. They had all these weapons, they had all these guns, and that never happened. So it behooves us to not, take that into consideration, Let me see if this is actually the last one. Yeah, it is. Okay, so we're going to finish off this book strong. We're going to finish off this book strong with page 73, which is, "You are tasked now with Medu Nefer." Okay? Dang, man. Alright. "You are tasked now with Medu Nefer. Good words, good works, good war, good was." Okay? Was is power, right? The goal of your people is to have good words. And I feel it this. Sometimes I'm just not Like I don't speak good. You know, good works. That's when you do good things. And part of me is convinced now that I might need, well, we need that war chest, but we also need better individual wealth. All right, good war. You already know what that is. That's a strategy that you apply in your life to get what you need, right? Possibly from other people, possibly from the land, possibly whatever it is. But you need to. That's good war and good was. That is your being a part of the administration of our own people, right? Being a part of the class of people who are ruling the world instead of carrying the burden, right? You know that comes with a good education, and of course I'll keep reminding you that there is literature out there for you to get these kind of things, right? But otherwise, that's what it is. Medu Nefer. This is the thing. This is the motto that even I have to repeat to myself. You know, and I want you to repeat to yourself. And I think that even regardless of what you do moving forward, wherever you're looking, go to whatever it is you see that is doing Medu Nefer. This is why I don't recommend Tariq Nasheed and them. They have too many bad words. No works, no war, no power. You understand? Bad words, bad works, bad war, bad was. Okay? You understand? You don't want that. That's exactly what you don't want. You understand? You want to have good words. Like when I say bad words, I'm talking like if I were to go over these people, you know, they're like, oh, you know, oh, like they say bad things about black folk. That's bad words. If somebody has bad words, you know, try to correct them. They don't correct themselves, forget it, right? You know, so point it out anytime, because even sometimes I have bad words. So point it out when it happens, you know. And I'm not saying that you know you always, you know, like I said, like it's hard to unlearn the negativity that we've surrounded ourselves with. So you know, you can obviously exercise some patience, but you know, I'm about to tell y'all. Anyway, the only guy's kind of bad. All right, but anyway, bad works. What bad works? What is that? What is that other people have? They have bad works in the sense of like what do they produce? Wait, what do they produce? You know, what do they produce? Conferences. You know, terrible DVDs. Blah blah. Forget that. Bad war. Who are they fighting for? Are they fighting for African unity, African community, African nations, or are they fighting for Europeans? You know, unity with Europeans, the disunity of Africans, the destruction of African nations. Come on, and then bad power. How much influence? Like, what are they using their influence for, or do they even have any influence? You know, what is it like? What is it towards? You know, what I can say about Tariq Nasheed was that it looked like he was trying to re-elect Donald Trump. You know, uh, and it looks like he's continuing to do that, and his influence was lacking. You know, he tried to say, oh yeah, we didn't vote, and then you know black folk voted in numbers. So it's just that's just one individual. That's all over the continent. But we have to be that example of Medu Nefer. You know, and really like try to stress that concept. But hopefully that's as much as I could say. I don't know if anybody has anything to say. Maybe Machiavelli could share some words with us as we decide to close out, you know, for the year on this book. Machiavelli, what's good?
No, just here to observe, but if anything, I would say to stay disciplined in whatever you encounter or whatever your end goal is, to keep that discipline and to be able to discern when someone is lying to you or being mischievous, as you know, the Tariqs of the world or the other people, as you could say.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, he's right. You know, I'm looking into some things that you know Machiavelli was talking about before, and you know, like I realized that you have to go through life with competence, confidence, and like an understanding of consequence. You know, but the reality being that discipline is so important. You know, and if you're not disciplined, you can't expect that much good in your life. You know, you're gonna lose, you're gonna miss out on a lot of things if you don't have discipline. You know, it's you know, it's and this one is just so foremost. You know, It really deserves, it deserves its own conversation. Um, but thanks so much, brother, for joining us and speaking on that. I almost want to talk about that stuff, but I'll probably talk about it offline. But anyway, thanks so much, everybody, for joining on this weekly Warship. Hopefully, I'll hear from you next week or even later in the week. But otherwise, thank you so much, and of course, Shamyam Hotep. All right.